I wasn't supposed to hear it. But when you're lying in a hospital bed at 3 a.m, unable to speak but fully conscious, you hear everything. My son Marcus stood just outside the ICU, phone pressed to his ear. His voice carried through the half-open door, clear and businesslike. The doctor said maybe 72 hours. Liver failure. Yeah, I know. Look, is the bakery lease transferable, or does it die with her? Die with her. That's how he said it. Like I was already gone. Like the 43 years I'd spent building Sweet Haven Bakery were just paperwork waiting to be filed. I wanted to move, to sit up, to scream. But the tubes kept me still. My liver had shut down from what they first thought was food poisoning, but turned out to be something worse. Toxic hepatitis from contaminated shellfish. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive at all. Most people didn't make it past the first night. But I had. And now I was lying here, listening to my oldest child discuss my business like a stock option. No, Claire won't fight you on it, he continued. She's already talking about converting it to a yoga studio. Says the location's perfect. Downtown, foot traffic, parking. We just need to wait for the inevitable. The inevitable. Me. Dying. I closed my eyes. Not because I wanted to sleep, but because I needed to remember how I got here. How the woman who'd raised 3 children, who'd built a business from nothing, who'd buried a husband and kept going, had become nothing more than an estate to be divided. My name is Giselle Hartman, 72 years old, widow for 8 years, mother of 3. And until 5 days ago, I thought I knew my children. The bakery had been my dream, mine and Thomas's. We'd opened it in 1985 with a small business loan and a recipe box full of my grandmother's handwritten cards. Thomas handled the books. I handled everything else. The baking, the customers, the early mornings when your hands are covered in flour and the oven hasn't quite warmed the kitchen yet. When he died, the kids said I should sell. You've worked hard enough, Mom, Claire had said, touching my hand like I was fragile. You deserve to rest, but I didn't want rest. I wanted purpose. So I kept going. Hired more help, expanded the menu, built something that mattered. And now Marcus was on the phone, negotiating its future while I lay dying. Except I wasn't dying. Not anymore. The doctor had come in an hour before Marcus's call, checked my vitals, and murmured something about remarkable improvement to the night nurse. My liver enzymes were stabilizing. I wasn't out of the woods, but I wasn't actively dying either. Marcus didn't know that. Neither did Claire, or my youngest, Derek, who hadn't even bothered to visit yet. The night nurse, a woman named Violet with tired eyes and careful hands, came in after Marcus left. She adjusted my IV, checked the monitors, then paused. Your son seems stressed, she said quietly. I managed a small nod. The breathing tube was out now, but talking still hurt. Family can be complicated, she added, more to herself than to me. Then she patted my hand and left. Complicated. That was one word for it. I must have drifted off, because when I opened my eyes again, it was morning. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, cutting sharp lines across the floor. And there, in the chair beside my bed, sat someone I didn't expect. Rosa. She was 63, maybe 64. Guatemalan, with hands that had worked harder than most people's whole lives. She'd been with me at the bakery for 12 years, started as a dishwasher, worked her way up to head baker, knew my recipes better than I did now. Never missed a shift. Never complained, and she was crying, not loud, dramatic crying. Just tears sliding down her face while she clutched a rosary in one hand and a grocery bag in the other. Rosa, I croaked. She startled, eyes wide. Miss Giselle, you're awake. Dios mío, you're awake. She stood quickly, nearly knocking over the chair. I'll get the nurse. Wait. My voice was barely above a whisper, but she stopped. How did you know I was here? She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Your son, he called the bakery, said to close it until further notice. Said you were very sick, and you came. Of course I came. She said it like there was no other option. Like sitting beside a dying woman's hospital bed at dawn was just what people did. I tried to sit up. She moved fast, helping me adjust the pillows, her hands gentle but certain. When I was settled, she reached into the grocery bag and pulled out a small container. Caldo, she said. Chicken soup. My abuela's recipe. Good for healing. My throat tightened. Not from pain this time. Rosa, I can't eat yet. The tubes. I know. But when you can, when you're better, I'll bring it fresh. When you're better, not if, when. She sat back down. Rosary still clutched tight. Your children? She started, then stopped. Started again. They have not come? Marcus was here last night. She nodded slowly. Didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. We sat in silence for a while. The monitors beeped steadily. Somewhere down the hall, someone laughed. Normal hospital sounds. Life continuing while mine hung in balance. How much did Marcus tell you? I finally asked. Rosa looked down at her hands. He said the bakery would be closed. Permanently. He said you wouldn't want us to worry about jobs, that there would be severance. Severance for a business that wasn't even dead yet. He said this before checking with me? She didn't answer directly, just said, he was very certain. I leaned back against the pillows. My body ached. Everything ached. But something else was starting to ache worse. The understanding that my children had already moved on, had already decided my fate, my business's fate, without me. Rosa, I said carefully. Did he mention anything else? She hesitated. He asked about the recipes, the family recipes. He said they were valuable, that maybe someone might want to buy them. My grandmother's recipes. The ones written on index cards in fading blue ink. The ones I'd taught Rosa over years of early mornings and late nights. The ones that had built everything. What did you tell him? I told him I didn't know where they were kept. She met my eyes. I lied. A small smile tried to form on my cracked lips. Good. Over the next 2 days, I improved. Slowly, but steadily. The doctors were amazed. Your liver's regenerating faster than we expected, Dr. Patterson said, flipping through my charts. You're not out of the woods, but you're heading in the right direction. Marcus came once more, brought flowers he'd clearly grabbed from the hospital gift shop. Stood by the bed for exactly 11 minutes, I counted, checking his watch twice. How are you feeling, Mom? Better. That's great. Really great. He shifted his weight. I've been thinking, when you get out, maybe it's time to consider assisted living, somewhere with medical staff, just in case. I'm not an invalid, Marcus. I know. But you're 72, and after this scare, we just want you safe. We, like he and Claire and Derek had all discussed this. Decided my future over family dinner I wasn't invited to? The bakery, I said. He looked uncomfortable. Mom, let's not talk about that now. You need to focus on getting better. You called Rosa. Told her it was closing. He stopped. Recalibrated. I was preparing for the worst. I didn't want employees worrying about their jobs if things went badly. It's my business, Marcus, not yours to close. His jaw tightened. That look he got when he thought he knew better. Mom, you nearly died. You can't run a bakery from a hospital bed. I was being practical. Practical. Convenient word for erasing someone before they're gone. He left shortly after, kissed my forehead, promised to visit again soon. Didn't. Claire came the next day. She was 45, dressed like she'd just left a meditation retreat. Flowing clothes, crystal necklace, that serene smile she wore like armor. Mom, you look so much better. She pulled the chair close, sat with perfect posture. I've been sending you healing energy. Light and love. Thank you. I've been thinking. Once you're recovered, you should really consider what brings you joy. The bakery, it's been wonderful, but it's also been such a burden. So much stress. Maybe this is the universe telling you to let go, to find peace. The universe. Right. I want to keep working. She tilted her head. That patronizing tilt that made me feel like a child. Mom, You're 72. You've worked your whole life. Don't you want to rest? To travel? To finally be free? Free from the thing I loved, the thing I built, the thing that got me up every morning. What would happen to the bakery? I asked. She brightened. Actually, I've had this amazing idea. The location is perfect for a wellness center. Yoga, meditation, sound baths. I've already talked to a few investors. They're very interested. You want to turn my bakery into a yoga studio? A wellness center? She corrected gently. It would honor your legacy. All about nourishment, just a different kind. I looked at her. Really looked. Saw the way her eyes had already moved past me, already redesigning the space I'd spent 43 years building. And the employees? I asked. She waved a hand. They'd find other jobs. The labor market is great right now. Rosa, who'd worked for me for 12 years. Miguel, who'd been doing deliveries for 7. Sarah, the girl who'd just started and needed the health insurance for her daughter's asthma treatments. I see, I said. Claire stayed another 20 minutes, talked about chakras and intention setting, left me a crystal for healing energy. I put it on the nightstand next to Marcus's wilting flowers. Derek never came at all, but he did text. Heard you're doing better. Great news. Talk soon. That night, alone in my hospital room, I stared at the ceiling and counted the tiles. 42, then counted again. Still 42. Rosa came back the next morning. Early, before visiting hours officially started. Violet, the nurse, let her in with a knowing look. How are you feeling, Miss Giselle? Stronger. She nodded. Set down a new container. Caldo again. Fresh this morning. Thank you. I paused. Rosa, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you come? To the hospital. Why did you stay? She looked surprised by the question. You are my friend, my boss. You gave me a chance when no one else would. When I came here, I had nothing. No English, no papers, nothing. You hired me anyway. Taught me. Trusted me. She met my eyes. You saw me when I was invisible. How could I not come? Something in my chest cracked. Not physically. Just the part that had been holding everything together for so long. My children, I started, then stopped. They want me to sell. To close the bakery. Rosa's face didn't change. She already knew. What do you want? She asked. What did I want? I'd been so busy being a mother, a widow, a business owner, I'd forgotten I was allowed to want things just for myself. I want to keep baking, I said. I want to keep the bakery alive. I stopped. I want to matter. You do matter, not to them. Rosa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, My daughter. She lives in California now. She is a teacher, makes good money. Every month, she sends me money, says I should retire, stop working so hard, that I've done enough. Why don't you? Because baking is not work to me. It's life. It's creation. Every morning, I make something that didn't exist before. Something that makes people happy. Why would I stop that? I looked at her. This woman who'd crossed a border with nothing, who'd worked her way from dishwasher to head baker, who understood something my own children never had. Rosa, I said slowly, I need your help. She leaned forward. Anything. I need to know exactly what's happening at the bakery, what Marcus has done, what Claire is planning. Everything. She nodded. I'll find out. Over the next week, I continued to improve. The doctors were calling it miraculous. I've never seen a liver regenerate this fast at your age, Dr. Patterson said. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. What I was doing was getting angry, and apparently, anger was a hell of a motivator. Rosa became my spy. She'd visit daily, updating me in whispers while pretending to chat about nothing. Marcus had changed the locks at the bakery, told the employees they'd be paid for 2 more weeks, then let go. He'd already contacted a commercial real estate agent about listing the property. Claire had meetings scheduled with investors, had mock-ups made of the space redesigned with yoga mats and meditation cushions. Derek, my youngest, had called exactly once, asked Marcus if there was any cash available for immediate distribution. He owed money to his bookie, again, and not one of them knew I was recovering. "They think you're still dying," Rosa said quietly. "Marcus told everyone you were stable but unlikely to fully recover. That's the word he used, unlikely. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks total. By the end, I could walk the hallways, could eat solid food, could think clearly without the fog of medication. And I had a plan. Dr. Patterson discharged me on a Tuesday. You'll need to take it easy, no stress. Plenty of rest. Follow-up appointments every 2 weeks. "Of course," I said. Violet wheeled me out to the entrance. Rosa was waiting with her old Toyota engine running. "Where to, Miss Giselle?" "The bakery." Her eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "Very." We drove through downtown in silence. It was early afternoon. The lunch rush would be over if the bakery were still open. But it wasn't. The windows were dark. A sign hung on the door. Temporarily closed due to family emergency. Family emergency? That's what I'd become. Rosa parked in the alley behind the building. She'd kept her key, despite Marcus's new locks on the front. We entered through the back door. The kitchen was exactly as I'd left it. Stainless steel counters gleaming, ovens cold, mixing bowls stacked neatly. The smell of flour and vanilla still lingered faintly in the air. I ran my hand along the counter where I'd rolled out thousands of pie crusts, where Thomas and I had laughed and argued and built something real. "They haven't touched anything back here," Rosa said. "Just the front. They're measuring for the yoga studio." I walked slowly to the front, through the swinging door into the main bakery, and stopped. The display cases were empty. The small tables where customers used to sit with coffee and muffins were gone. There were paint swatches on the walls, samples of bamboo flooring, a yoga mat rolled up in the corner. They'd already started erasing me. I stood there for a long time. Rosa didn't rush me, just waited. "Finally," I said, "how much money do you have saved?" She looked startled. "Why?" "Answer the question." "Maybe 15,000. I've been saving for my grandchildren's education." I turned to face her. "What if I told you I could make you a partner? Not an employee, a real partner. 50-50 ownership of this bakery." Rosa's mouth opened, closed. "Miss Giselle, I can't. You've been running this place for years. You know every recipe, every supplier, every customer. You've kept it alive while I was sick. Without you, there is no bakery. But your children. My children want to turn it into a yoga studio." I kept my voice steady. "They don't want what I built. They want what they can make from it. There's a difference." Rosa was crying now. "I don't understand. I'm going to transfer ownership, 50% to you. The rest stays in a trust. I'd worked this out with the hospital's legal aid service during my last week. Had all the paperwork ready. But I need you to invest something too. Show you're committed. 15,000? 10,000. Keep 5 for emergencies." She wiped her eyes. "Miss Giselle, this is too much. It's not enough. But it's a start." I took her hands, these hands that had kneaded dough beside mine, that had understood what my children never had. "Partners?" She nodded, unable to speak. We signed the papers that afternoon, filed them the next morning. By the time Marcus found out, it was already done. He showed up at the bakery 3 days later. I was there, testing a new recipe for cinnamon rolls. Rosa was prepping the ovens. We were planning to reopen the following Monday. Marcus burst through the door like a storm. "What the hell did you do?" I didn't look up from the dough. "I'm baking." "What does it look like?" "You transferred ownership, without consulting anyone, without asking your permission." I met his eyes. "It's my bakery, Marcus, not yours." His face was red. "You were dying. You were supposed to die?" I kept my voice level. "Yes, I heard you on the phone that night, asking about the lease transfer, discussing the inevitable." He had the grace to look uncomfortable. I was preparing for the worst. "No, You were preparing to profit. There's a difference. Claire arrived 20 minutes later. Derek took another day. They all stood in my kitchen, furious and confused. You gave half your business to an employee? Claire's serene mask had cracked. Mom, that's insane. That's fair, I interrupted. Rosa has been here for 12 years. She's earned this. She's not family, Derek said. I looked at my youngest child, the one I'd bailed out of debt 3 times, the one who'd asked about immediate distribution while I was lying in a hospital bed. Neither are you, I said quietly. Not anymore. The silence that followed was heavy. Final. Marcus recovered first. We'll contest this. You're not mentally competent. The hospital stay, the medications. Dr. Patterson has already signed a letter confirming my competency. It's with my lawyer. You're welcome to try, but you'll lose. And you'll lose publicly. I'd learned something during those 3 weeks in the hospital. I'd learned that silence wasn't always weakness. Sometimes it was strategy. Sometimes it was strength. They left eventually. Threatened lawyers, threatened estrangement, threatened everything but the truth. That they'd counted me dead before I'd stopped breathing. Rosa and I reopened Sweet Haven Bakery on Monday. We hired back all the old employees, added 2 new ones, changed nothing about the recipes or the layout or the heart of what made it special. Word spread fast in small ways. Customers returned. Some had heard about my miraculous recovery and wanted to see for themselves. Others just wanted good bread. On our 2nd week back, an older woman came in. She ordered coffee and a croissant, sat at one of the small tables we'd kept. When I brought her order over, she looked up at me. Are you Giselle? I am. I heard about what happened. With your children. I'm sorry. I set down her cup. Don't be. I learned something important. What's that? That family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who show up when you're dying and bring you soup. She smiled. That's a good lesson. It was. Months passed. The bakery thrived. Rosa and I worked side by side, like we always had, but different now. Equal. Partners. My children didn't visit, didn't call. I thought it would hurt more than it did. But mostly, I felt relief, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't realize was there until I set it down. One morning, Rosa arrived with news. My daughter wants to visit. From California. She wants to see the bakery. That's wonderful. Rosa hesitated. She wants to meet you, to thank you. For what? For seeing me. For giving me this chance. Her eyes filled. She said her mother finally sounds happy. I had to look away, busy my hands with flour and butter and sugar. The ingredients that made sense when nothing else did. Tell her she's welcome anytime. 3 weeks later, Rosa's daughter Maria came. She was 40, a teacher like Rosa said. She walked through the bakery with wonder, touching the counter, the ovens, the walls. This is where my mother spends her days, she said softly. I always imagined it, but seeing it, she turned to me. Thank you. For treating her like family. She is family, I said simply. The kind that matters. Maria stayed for a week, learned some recipes, laughed with her mother in Spanish while they worked. Before she left, she pulled me aside. My mother says you have no one to leave this to when the time comes. I didn't confirm or deny. I hope you know, Maria continued, that you'll always have us. We're not going anywhere. After she left, I stood in my kitchen, in this place I'd built with flour and love and stubborn refusal to disappear. The evening light slanted through the windows, the ovens cooled from the day's work. Everything was quiet, except for Rosa, humming as she cleaned. I thought about my children, about the moment I heard Marcus on that phone, about the choice I'd made not to die quietly while they divided up the pieces of my life. Some people might call what I did revenge, taking away their inheritance, choosing an employee over blood. But I call it something else. I call it choosing life. Choosing the people who chose me when choosing me was hard. I call it understanding that love isn't obligation. That family is built in flour-dusted kitchens at dawn with people who show up when showing up matters. I call it knowing that the best inheritance I can leave isn't money or property. It's proof that it's never too late to start over, to choose differently, to claim your own life back from people who'd already written your ending. I'm 73 now. Every morning, I wake up at 4:30, drive to the bakery, turn on the ovens, wait for Rosa. And every morning, when she arrives, we bake. We create something that didn't exist before. Something that makes people happy. My children never came back. I stopped expecting them to. But I did get a letter from Derek, 6 months after I reopened. It was brief. "Mom, I heard the bakery is doing well. Happy for you. I'm working on myself. Maybe someday we can talk." I didn't write back. Maybe someday I will. But not yet. For now, I have dough rising, ovens warming, and Rosa arriving any minute with that smile she gets when she has a new recipe idea. For now, I have exactly what I need. A kitchen that smells like home, hands covered in flour, and the quiet, certain knowledge that I chose right. Not revenge, not bitterness, just the simple, radical act of choosing myself, of choosing life, of choosing the people who showed up when it mattered most. And in the end, that's the only inheritance worth leaving.